What's up, everybody? It's your boy J-Rock back with another video, and today we have a 2002 Chevy Silverado 2500HD with the 6.6 Duramax, and we are doing ball joints, control arms, tie rod ends. This angle is terrible. It'll be better in a second, but right now I am just removing the wheel speed sensor harness. You're just gonna squeeze the back side of that tab and pull it out of its hole. Then a 10mm to take the brake line bracket off. And you can't see the one on the control arm because my angle is terrible, but there's a 10mm on the control arm. Now I am removing the tie rod nut. That is a 19 or a 21. And I'm just gonna whack it with the hammer to knock it out. Bada bing, bada boom. Now I'm gonna crack loose the upper ball joint, and that is an 18mm if yours are OEM. So I'm just gonna crack that loose, and then I'll take it the rest of the way with my electric ratchet. My hair is still a little green from my Halloween costume. Alright, that's the 18 upper control arm bolt, and we are gonna just thread it back on a couple of threads so when we knock it off, the knuckle doesn't fall to the ground. She is free floating here. And now I think I'm going to, this is where you're going to want to beat on the ball joint to get it to separate. And then bam, there it goes. Now I'm going to remove this brake caliper, and I believe that is a 21mm, 2 bolts for the bracket. And I'm just gonna swing mine and lay it on the ground because I have enough room to do so. But if you don't, then I would suggest hanging it. Don't hang it from the hose. Alright, both of those 21s have been removed here. And now we're just going to flip it over and set it on the ground. Now this bottom bolt, ball joint bolt, is a 24mm if yours are OEM. And we're just gonna take that down. That's my partner over there doing his side. Now I'm gonna thread that lower nut back on a little bit to catch this thing so it doesn't fall. And again, I'm gonna beat this lower until it drops a little bit. Takes some force. There we go. Just dropped a tiny bit. That's enough. Now, I would not recommend you just letting this thing fall, but I've been battling a shoulder injury, so I'm just gonna pile up this blanket underneath it here and take this lower nut off, and then I'm just gonna let my knuckle fall onto this nice, soft, fluffy blanket. Because it is heavy, and I do not want to hurt myself anymore. And bam, there we go. No harm, no foul. So now we're going to move on to this upper control arm, and I believe they are a 21mm as well. I broke them loose, didn't catch it on camera with a breaker bar, and then just took them the rest of the way with my electric ratchet. So you need to pull your camber washers off here, your adjustment washers. And then just push your bolts out. You might have to wiggle the control arm a little bit to get them free and to get enough room to slide it out, but they will come out just like so. Then I'm gonna hit this other side. And she is completely free. Yank it out of there. Alright, so now we're going to move on to these lower ball joints. I'm going to clean all this dirt and debris out of this thing. I'm checking for a snap ring. This truck doesn't have one, but there was so much crud in there that I just could not see. So that's exactly what I'm doing, just cleaning it up so I could get a better view. Now I'm sizing up my cups for my ball joint press. So you put your lower cup on there with the cap. And then just make sure this is nice and straight and squared. If it slips, as long as it's still on that top part of the ball joint, you're good. It doesn't have to be dead center, and it'll press out of there. You just don't want the rod digging into the control arm there, that hole. So we're gonna ugga-dugga this and press her out, and she's popped free. Bada bing, bada boom. And then that is your lower ball joint. Now I'm going to clean all this up with the wire brush, get all that crap out of there, and just make sure I got a nice smooth surface to press into. And now I'm going to size my cup up for the new one. Found the one that fits perfectly. Sometimes you got to take the boots off, sometimes you don't. In this case I didn't. And then I'm just using the cap, the small cap over the top of it, because this ball joint does not go far up, and it doesn't go over the control arm here, so it's easy to use this little cup. Make sure everything's nice and lined up straight before you start pressing, and then ugga-dugga that lower ball joint up in there. And you could watch it. Honestly, if you're using an impact, you can tell by the noise it's making when it's bottomed out. And we are there. I'm just going to pull this off and pull my cup off. My boot came with it. I'm just going to pop my boot back on. And click it in. So I think next I'm going to put my grease fitting on this ball joint. Yep, there we go. Don't forget your grease fittings. And then tighten that up with an 8mm wrench. So new control arm going in. Both sides are the exact same part number. There is no left, no right. If you're gonna have to bring it to an alignment shop, that's what we're doing, but you can mark these camber adjusters with a Sharpie or something, so you can kind of get them back in almost exactly where you took them out, and that's a good method to work off of. But this thing is immediately going to an alignment shop to have the alignment done, so no harm, no foul there. Just putting my nuts back on. I'm gonna leave these somewhat loose until I get the knuckle in, and there will be some preloaded done at the alignment shop, so you don't really have to worry about it if you're gonna drop it off for an alignment. If you're not, you would want to preload those control arms. There is a procedure for it. There we go. So I'm going to get my nuts ready. Take my rotor off of my knuckle, which I think I already did. And then I just lift these knuckles up and into that bottom ball joint first. And then you can kind of put it in a bind here, like so, and it'll stay up. And then you just thread your lower ball joint nut on. And now we're gonna drop this upper in. And bam, gonna thread that nut in there. Gonna tighten everything up. Don't kill it with the impact. You just wanna snug it and then turn it the rest of the way in with the wrench so you can line up your cotter pins. Brake rotor going back on. I think I just put that cotter pin in down there, and now I'm going to put this caliper back on. You want to make sure that you do not pigtail your brake hose, kink it, or anything like that. You want it to be as straight as possible, just like you removed it. Now I'm putting my bracket bolts back in. Sometimes they can be a pain in the butt to line it up. But I think I get the top started here, and then the bottom, and then I will take it the rest of the way with my Ooga Dooga. There we go. Now that's the brake line bracket you couldn't see in the first clip. It's 10mm, holds it on the control arm there. Start putting all those back in. Put the brake hose bracket on, that's a 10mm. What is it, Gizmo? I got a squealing cat. Tighten up my 10s, my battery just died. Now I'm gonna hook my wheel speed sensor back in to the bracket, and then back into the control arm, and then back to its plug. Hook it back into its mounting point up there. Alright, now I'm going to crack my crush nut loose on my tie rod here. And I believe that is a 22 or 23mm. And again, if you want this to stay close, you can leave that old crush nut on there and just tighten up your tie rod to it. And then bring the alignment shop the new ones. Might charge you a little bit extra to throw them on, but just or you can count the threads however you want to do it. But you just want it to be as close as possible to where it came off. I'm going to put my tie rod back in its home. Sometimes you have to knock these new ones over a little bit to get them to line up at the proper angle. Move your knuckle around till it slips in. And then I just kind of wiggle that knuckle back and forth until I can slide it all the way up in there. Then I'm going to top it off with my castle nut. I'm going to hand tighten it so I can line up my hole for my cotter pin. Now, for whatever reason, they gave me an excessively long cotter pin for this thing, so it's not the prettiest, cleanest cotter pin install, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, you know, I like stuff to look nice, but this thing is just excessively long, so I had to bend it twice. What? I know. Alright, there it is. Not pretty, but functional. And remember, you got cotter pins on your upper and lower control arms as well, or ball joints as well. Then I'm going to tighten my control arm bolts here. Snug those bad boys up, and then it's time to put the wheel on. And that's it. Now my youngin is gonna put a cat on my back. Yep, that's you, Gizmo. Do you see yourself? You are clawing me, thanks to that sweet little child. No. Not a good Gizmo. And that's it, guys. And then bring it to the alignment shop, and they'll take care of everything else for you, torque these lugs down, and then that's it. Always use jack stands. I'm a knucklehead, you know, but yeah, always use jack stands, guys. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Peace. You want to say peace? Peace, Gizzy. Quit eating this cat.
No, you're my baby.
No.